Hey everyone, you're with Tesla Tom. Thanks so much for joining us on Ludicrous Feed. Well, today I want to run through a video with you today I took between the North Shore of Sydney and the inner west of Sydney, crossing two bridges, the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the ANZAC Bridge in our Tesla Model 3, mostly on Navigate on Autopilot. It did pretty well, and I want to show you what happened exactly today. Okay, so the car is currently on Willoughby Road on Sydney's North Shore. This is the last traffic light before it hits the freeway. As you can see, a whole bunch of cones there and showing up on the screen as well as part of the roadwork. This is hardware 3.0 in our Tesla Model 3 Performance Stealth, running version 2020.12.5. It's on average lane change mode for autopilot, and looking forward to the next update when we see more visualizations like traffic lights and stop signs. So this is Willoughby Road in Naremburn. And we're about to enter the on-ramp for the freeway, as you'll see very shortly. So that noise is autopilot being engaged by myself. 2 shakes down with the right stalk, and I'm pressing the speed limit on the screen, and that means the car will try to match it. And you'll see that the car is going to suggest a lane change, so I'm indicating to the right and waggle the steering wheel a bit, and then the car will do the lane change for me. I'm also using 60 frames per second on our DJI Osmo action camera, mounted to the roof of the car, and running rock steady, which is the inbuilt digital stabilization. So for those who've ever traveled on this road, which is called the Warringah Freeway, or the Bradfield Highway, which is basically the Sydney Harbour Bridge approach from the northbound, it's a tricky road because there's about 10 lanes across, and you've got to pick the right lane basically. So it's always a good test, I find, for autopilot. So that took the right hand side of that fork pretty well, which is the correct way to do it, and the way I would have driven to as a local. Now this bit was very interesting because you've got to merge pretty quickly to the left to get onto the right part, otherwise you end up in the Sydney Harbour Tunnel. So I was very impressed when the car knew what to do. So the first bit, you'll see the car wanted to merge, which I was happy to do, so I flicked the indicator stalk down. That's not too bad, but this bit is when it has to merge very quickly onto the other side of the road. And this is when the car did it by itself. I had my hands on the wheel, ready to take over, but as you'll see very shortly, this is what happens. See that? See that the car indicated by itself and merged left all by itself. And I had my hand on the indicator ready to go, but I didn't need to use it. So that I was impressed with that because, like I said, if the car had not merged to the left, it would have gone into the tunnel. So yeah, that's like a little hint of autonomy right there, which was very good. Okay, so there I am matching the speed again at 70 kilometers an hour. See that lane on the right? That actually goes into the harbour tunnel. Had the car not merged by itself, it would have gone into the tunnel. Whereas this surface road here goes into the Sydney Harbour Bridge. So we're just passing North Sydney on our right there. And you'll see very shortly that we'll see the Sydney Harbour Bridge with the North Pylon. And the map. You can see there on the screen that we're about to cross water, and that's where we're about to hit the bridge proper. Okay, so the car is going at 70 kilometers an hour very nicely, and the car is suggesting I switch lanes, so I did that. Left stalk down, and then wiggle the wheel a bit, and the car will take care of the rest. Those lanes on the left are the bus lane and also the Kyle Expressway, which I normally do my test, but today I thought I'd do this test on these middle lanes of the Harbour Bridge. It's a bit of a tricky one because these lanes switch directions depending on the time of day. So yeah, so obviously it's safer to be on the left-hand side of the road because these two left lanes generally don't change, but that lanes 4, I believe 3 and 4 do change depending on the time of day. So this is currently about 2:30 in the afternoon, so there's more traffic coming back northbound for workers. In the morning it's more lanes going southbound. Okay, so we're about to reach the southern pylon of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And this is when things get a little bit tricky. If you've never driven this road before, you'll see what I mean very shortly. Because there are about 3 or 4 different options you can take once you get off the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Because you can actually go into the city proper, or you can join the Western Distributor. And this whole time the car is on Navigate on Autopilot. That single blue line there, as you can see. Okay, so it's decision time. If you're a human driver, you would be going, what do I do now? If you've never driven before on this road, you get maybe 1 chance, because these are the signboards. So you've pretty much got to make a decision right now. Being a local, I know which ones to take, so I was watching very carefully, but I wanted to see whether the car could decide what to do, and it certainly did. It picked the correct lanes to hop onto the Western Distributor. As you'll see on the map there, it joins the ANZAC Bridge eventually. But it's not all smooth sailing yet, because this part of the road is over the top of Darling Harbour and Cockle Bay Wharf below us. But there are still more decisions to make before you hit the ANZAC Bridge, as you'll see very shortly. So the left lane goes to the ANZAC Bridge, the right 2 lanes head towards Darling Harbour and the inner city. So the car's doing so far so good, matching 70 kilometers an hour. Excuse the tilt there. That's the rock steady digital stabilization of the camera, trying to keep the dominant motion. I mean, without this, it would be causing a lot more vibration. So I'm happy to take the trade-off with the tilt rather than it shaking. Okay, so you have to stick in the left lane normally, and again, if you're a human driver, that's the only signboard you get, as you saw before, to make a decision whether to go right or left. And again, there's another decision coming up, another fork, whether to stay left or to take the right 2 lanes for Darling Harbour. Because we're going on the ANZAC Bridge, I want to stay in the left 2 lanes, but then there are cars joining from the left as well. As you can see, the car took the right way as well, going left. And again, I was a bit worried there, but I had my hands on the wheel and the car made the right decision. Albeit, I must say, it was a little bit dicey, like it was probably too close for comfort. I would have probably hugged the left side of the road more so than the car did, because the car actually took the middle of that fork and then swiftly took the left side. Again, probably something the neural net will take care of, hopefully in time. Okay, so once you are on this road, it's smoothish sailing, because this is the approach to the ANZAC Bridge, fondly known in Sydney as Madonna's Bra, as you'll see very shortly why it's called that. Excuse the glare, it is about 2:30, so the sun is still fairly high, setting west, because we are facing west currently, so see a bit of a glare, but importantly the screen is in good view there for you guys to see. It's a nice shot there of the ANZAC Bridge. Yeah, so this road is 60 kilometers an hour. A lot of cars do go faster than that, so you'll have to excuse why everyone's overtaking me, but I'm trying to stick to the speed limit. Okay, so this is interesting. There's an upcoming lane change here. As you'll see, the lane next to me has a light grey line, and then it says upcoming lane change. So it's a warning that it wants to change lane eventually, because there is a turn off. So I'm taking the early option and letting the car change once I indicate, and then confirm with the waggle of the steering wheel. And then you'll see that this road, once we pass the second peak of the ANZAC Bridge, that's pretty much it. And then it'll disengage from autopilot, or navigate on autopilot, and then re-engage just basic autopilot, which is the 2 tram tracks. So as you can see there, it's warning you it's going to disengage pretty shortly. So I've been pretty happy with this part. It's done pretty well with both ANZAC, and that's the noise there. It's disengaging. Okay, so this is the return journey, going back towards the city. And that noise is me engaging autopilot. So this is on basic autopilot, like I said, into the city, crossing the ANZAC Bridge once again, eastbound. Those 2 lanes, or those 2 lines indicate that it's basic autopilot without the navigate part. And then now it's a single line, which means that we are now on navigate on autopilot. entering ANZAC Bridge once again. And this, again, the approach into the city from ANZAC Bridge is not easy, even for a human driver. If it's your first time, there's a lot of decisions to make, as you'll see very shortly. And again, I'm trying to stick to the speed limit here, 60 kilometers an hour, but just from experience, people do go a bit faster than that on this road. It's a nice approach to the city. You can see the inner city. There's Piedmont below us on the left, and that's Centrepoint Tower there, Sydney's famous landmark. So there are exits here. That's not too bad because, you know, it's on the far left, but as you'll see coming up, there are some decisions to make, whether you go into the city or head northbound towards the Harbour Bridge, which is what I want to do on this occasion, to get back onto the north side. So there's the first decision there. So you can either use the cross-city tunnel on the right side, or keep going on the left. So I'm going to, as you can see, stay in this lane, because I wanted to see what the car would do. There is a fork coming up on this road. It always worries me, those forks, because you don't know what the car's going to do. And always the hands on the wheel, just in case, of course, in the event the car is undecided. But I'm here talking to you, so it means that I made the right decision. So there we are, there's that signboard telling you to make a decision quickly. So the right side goes into the cross-city tunnel, and if you go in there, you're going to miss your turn off into the Harbour Bridge. There's that fork, and yeah, that was fairly smooth that time. Plenty of time to make that decision, in hindsight. Yeah, you want to stick to the left 2 lanes to go back on the Harbour Bridge. So we're kind of above Darling Harbour now, and again, I think it's not too bad now, because if you stay in this lane, you'll end up on the Harbour Bridge. If you go on the left 2 lanes, you'll end up in the city. So the car has asked me to stay in this lane, that's fine, because if you stay on this side, you will end up on the Harbour Bridge. Again, just following the speed limit now. And then, for some reason, the car didn't read the sign there for 70 kilometers an hour, and you'll see very shortly that I do ramp it up to 70 kilometers an hour manually with my right scrolly wheel. Now, this is kind of 3 o'clock in Sydney, and normally pre-COVID times it would be pretty busy. But, you know, during the lockdown period, it's pretty quiet, relatively speaking, so it's a good time to test. This bit's not too bad this approach to the Sydney Harbour Bridge, because this is kind of the main thoroughfare into the Harbour Bridge. If you enter from any other aspect of the city, it's a bit trickier, but this is fine, because it's pretty much a straight shot onto the bridge, and then when you get to the bridge, it disengages to basic autopilot, so that's where I switched off the video. More cones there on your right. So yeah, you'll see very shortly it gets on the bridge, and it goes back to basic. I'll just leave the video running just a bit more, because like I said, the bridge changes direction, the roads, or the lane rather, depending on the time of day. So I was a little bit hesitant to stay in this lane. I wanted to change over to the left, but that taxi on your left there, even though I'd passed it, the car wasn't sure which lane that taxi was in. So again, something for the neural net to take care of in future, so I sort of gave that up. And yeah, once we get on the bridge, I'll cut the video there, because you know that we know that at the moment with this update, the bridge doesn't allow navigate on autopilot. Okay, so we might finish up the video there once we get on the bridge. Alright guys, well thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed that. That is our navigate on autopilot test from the north shore of Sydney to the inner west and return, using 2 bridges, the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the ANZAC Bridge. I think it worked pretty well, to be honest, and I'll use that as a test moving forward for the next update. Alright guys, thanks for watching, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and don't forget, you'll never charge alone. I'll see you next time.